Good evening, Hawks fans. Welcome to the round 17 review live stream of the game against Geelong, where we went down by 51 points. Definitely a disappointing loss, that one. So make sure you're getting your comments in. Let's hear what we want to hear what you all have to say after that one. Our first loss in a while. I'm here with Matt tonight. What was your thoughts on the game? You went all the way down to GMHBA. Pretty long trip after a loss like that.
Yeah, got to the skinny ground. I was optimistic. It was sad to see, I guess, the result. There was efforts, but it was just wasn't consistent, and we really got outdone by a team that wanted it more, bigger bodies. I think they knew the ground well, but I'm keen to hear what the fans have got to say, what their questions are and their thoughts going forward. No sis. Lewis, there's a few things to talk about tonight. So, let's bring it.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of talking points out of this game, which happens after a loss. Was it the touch-up we needed, Matt? We spoke about this just before we started. I think I would have probably liked it, not as big of a margin, but I think it's going to be definitely an interesting game against Freo next week in Tassie, because can we bounce back from this? We've been riding a huge wave of momentum, which has worked well for us up until this week. So can we swing the other way and now come and respond from a loss like this?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the points that we lost by really hurts as far as the finals opportunity. Mitchell, copping. We're yet to confirm what the scans were today, what that outcome will be. But Sicily, shoulder, Lewis, I'm a little bit concerned. I've gone from pretty optimistic for how we can go, right into finals to I'm really on the fence right now. And so I'm back to splinters. Daz would love that, giving me some grief about that. But it's not a case of no Sicily, no Hawthorn, and we can get to that. But against Rio, we're really going to have to. I think we need the odd checkup, the odd touch up to really see what we're made of and see how we respond. After Gold Coast, we responded. After Port, we responded. And on the back of that, for this season, I'm confident that we will respond. Whether it's a victory or not, I don't know, but I'm confident we'll respond.
Yeah, so that is the interesting point here. We brought in Seamus Mitchell essentially for Sicily. And a lot of people were saying, Sarong or Phillips, who did go well in the VFL today. We can chat about that soon because we did get the win there. But I thought it didn't really matter in the end because we looked so slow, which is the one part of the game which I thought wasn't going to be a negative for us. I thought we would get that one up over Geelong in our pace on the ball, but we didn't. So I don't think having an extra tall body down back like a Phillips or Sarong, who are great players, but I don't know if they would have been able to help us in that situation.
I would have loved to have seen a big body, and I'm keen to hear what your thoughts are, Hawks fans, because when Scrimshaw or Weddle went off, we were really and that for mine, I'm in hindsight, maybe we went in a little bit bullish because occasionally Daisy dropped back into that back half.
Yeah.
We looked too short. And whilst Impey played tall and I loved his game, we saw some uncharacteristic, mistakes from our back six. And does that mean it's a flow on from our midfield? I thought lots of great efforts from the midfielders, although we just didn't have our normal sort of, tight, coherent. Where was the quick hands that we've seen in recent weeks? And it just, the last 2 months we've been spoiled, and I think the first half and the second half were quite contrasting in terms of the way we tried to take the game on with long kicking down the wings on skinny ground. Didn't work. And then trying to take the game on in the press conference with Sam Mitchell, we did try to take the game on in a different way. Just didn't work either. So there was chains, but just not quite there.
Yeah, this is kind of a good comment from Nigel, because I think I sort of agree. as soon as that ball bounced and Dangerfield got that first clearance and it went straight to Cameron, I mean, that's the most predictable type of footy that Geelong plays. Danger out of the centre to Jeremy Cameron. And we had no answer. And it happened, Cameron had 3-4 shots on goal in that first quarter. Luckily, he missed a few. But it was really sad to see them maybe not have a plan or just automatically went out there after they lost that first clearance. They already hung their heads and kind of thought they were already going to lose the game, which it was just really weird because I'd seen them start so well the last few weeks and they had all the energy to start the game, and it was not like that.
Yeah, the delivery into Cameron in often Weddle's defence here in that first quarter, I don't think anyone could have stopped that to Geelong's credit. So Sam referred to it in the press conference as well. We thought we were in it because they weren't kicking so accurately. That starts in the midfield. I think Meek ended up doing well over the day in that first quarter. Geez, they've just got some great advantages and some good looks, and we just were a bit caught off guard because I think we were in an offensive position in our centre bounce setup, and then it just didn't go our way, so we just got a little bit exposed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found it interesting that the midfield got pretty soundly beaten, especially in that first half, because I thought that's where we were going to cement like our one area of the ground where we could really get that victory regardless of what happened, but it just didn't look likely. I mean, they had Tom Stewart in there who's been a midfielder for one game before it, and he's running circles around, Newcombe and Day occasionally at times, even Warple sometimes, which they all did some great things, but yeah, just didn't work as well in our defensive aspect in that midfield.
And I think that's because we were going on the attack. I'm not sure how much you looked in at that, but in that first quarter in particular, just when we're set up to attack, if the ball doesn't quite go our way and we've got a little bit of space to sort of allow for the quick handball to attack, if it goes the other way to the opponent, they were super quick as well, like we have been. And so it's just, I'm not sure what adjustments you make at that point. It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
I think our mids were switched on, and I think Warps knew, even Nash, that day especially, they were going hard. We just were caught out of position a little bit. So with the ruck work, and as I said, I think Meek ended up doing okay across the day, but
I thought Meek got on top, but we just couldn't convert that to any dominance in that midfield. Like he took a nice mark and got a lot of those hit outs to advantage, but we couldn't capitalize. I think this is a good point. Priority shouldn't be finals. I mean, if we had have said, 8 weeks into the season, even after a few wins, or we're going to be upset because we lose a game, we probably aren't going to make finals now. Well, I would have still been over the moon if even the thought of finals was in our head. So I think we shouldn't get carried away too much. And I mean, it's still a possibility now after that loss. It's very far away, but I think we're improving each year. We've improved. We're going to improve on last year's win count. So it's not all doom and gloom, but I think another aspect here, as Jane is saying, we had that short break and travelling all the way from Perth, which I've seen a few supporters bring up, which we know we don't want to use excuses and stuff, but I think we did look pretty tired out there.
Yeah, it's I look back the game against Geelong Easter Monday. They kicked 7 goals, 1 to our 1 goal, 1 in the first quarter. So it was a smaller differential, this game, but we just didn't keep bringing it the rest of the game because round 3, I think it was, against Geelong, they ended up winning by that 6-goal margin against us. So we kept up with them for the rest of the game. This week, we didn't quite keep up as much, but I mean, we tried different things, different personnel. It's a good checkup, I think, personally.
Yeah, I think we'll take a lot of lessons out of this, and Sam Mitchell's a very smart man, so I'm sure he'll be reviewing this footage and seeing what went so wrong.
Timmy loved. I was with Timmy in the change rooms. Timmy, we spoke to Blake Hardwick after the game, and so went to the press conference. Then we did the interview with Dimmer and Sam Mitchell. If you haven't heard the press conference, have a listen. But he cheeky, just lifting the team. If you have a look when we drop it, the interview with Hardwick, between the second and the third question, Timmy's asking the question. Sam Mitchell came in right between Timmy and I, put his head basically on my shoulder, and just to like make Dimmer, who doesn't love talking or love the camera, let's be honest, but just made him smile. So you'll see that when the interview drops. But like, I love that Sam's just trying to already lift the spirits. And look, it's sort of Dimmer talk to. We're not a bad team. That wasn't the great result that we wanted, but we're not a bad team. So
yeah, I think a lot of blokes in this side are confidence players, and Mitchell would obviously know that and how they learn best, and keeping those spirits high and making sure when we're winning 5 games in a row, we're not drinking our own bathwater. So I think he's managing what I've seen so far. He's managing that kind of roller coaster of emotions that you can feel in a footy year, especially when you're down the bottom, but going better than what most people expected you to. But yeah, I think this is a good point by Fred. I thought most of the defenders did pretty well. Like, they were getting pummeled all day. And I think they still, in terms of their one-on-one defense, they really held their own for most of the game. There were a few lapses in, say, team defense when we let 1 or 2 get out the back. But, Scrimshaw, Frost, Weddle, mostly one-on-one, they looked pretty good. And what we really missed in that back line was the kicking, like having Amon kick it straight to a Cats player. You never see him do that. And that's one of our key mainstays of our game plan, is having those kickers off that half back line who go at 80+%. And I would have to look, but I don't think many of them would have got near that. Yeah,
100%. The Scrimmer was like on fire in the first quarter a bit. He was looking great. I think Frosty across the game, it's when Frosty lost a battle, it really wasn't, it wasn't because he played poorly. It was either the delivery, the positioning of the player or whatnot. Like, he did really well across the game. Weds occasionally, first quarter was just hard the way it was coming into Cameron. But what I did notice, just playing a bit shorter against a tall opponents. And I think when it came in the first quarter, who was it? It just got bombed in and was just marked on the goal square. It was one of the Geelong players. He just marked it in front of the point post. Sorry. Yeah, it's like if Sis is there, you just don't necessarily see that. Maybe it was in the second quarter, but like the Cats were just having their way in that first half, and we really needed to. I don't know. At times it seemed like it was communication, and we seemed a little bit shell shocked at times, and it took us a little bit back to maybe round 1 to 5. And it was just like, okay, cool. As I said, reality check. How are we going? And a bigger role and responsibility for Weddle without a Sicily there in the mix. So it's good. We're going to need these along the way to keep developing. It's a reality check, and I think we'll keep being better for it.
Yeah, rounds 1 to 5 does ring a few little bells, a bit of a flashback to then, more in the sense of like direct turnovers and fumbles. Like, we looked out of touch with the game. It was really odd, but I think, as you said, they were a little bit shell-shocked at some points that they were coming so quickly and so hard at us, basically the entire game. But yeah, as you said, big out was Sicily. Another big out was Ginnivan, who Mundane Names here says maybe we miss Ginnivan more than we even miss Sicily. Maybe not as close there, but I think Ginnivan would have really helped, because we saw Dylan Moore was probably one of our best players. And he really looked to be able to get off the chains at some point. Like, if he was going to bring a spark back into this side, it was going to be him and going to be off his own boot. And I think another, small forward or high half forward that can really bring a spark to the team like Ginnivan would have helped.
Yeah, totally. He brings a lot. And I must admit, I probably underestimated some of that, because I think Watson was our best pressure forward across the 4 quarters, and we saw moments where he score involvement, score assist, he set up something, and it was like he just beeline straight for the tackle, when sometimes I was standing off a little bit, and it was almost corralling, not in a I don't know. It wasn't in a corralling sense, but Watson was just decisive. He knew his role. It was just to go and see ball, like tackle, hit body, tackle. And like that's the pressure. That's the role he's got. And I loved seeing that. And he set up Lewis for one.
Yeah.
There was one on the wing. I'm not sure which quarter that was. That was a sensational rundown. And that one, there was 2 or 3 Hawthorn players around that Geelong opponent. And Watson just went for him. So, yeah, Guinea, we've seen a bit of that and the smarts and knowing when to pressure and when to tackle. Even though, to mine, it hasn't looked that fast to the eye, Guinea. But, yeah, it was I love seeing the Dimmer move forward as far as putting on some more pressure in the second half. With Gunston coming off, it was a good. I like that coaching move. I wanted it. It didn't quite come with a win, but I liked it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there was definitely a few times where we just couldn't stick the tackles. Maybe it's another bring your mouth guards to weak type of training, because there was a few tackles just being like getting slipped out of by the opposition, and just people not going as hard as I've seen them go against the opposition in the last few weeks.
Don't mind it.
Yeah, I mean, we saw how well it went last time, so I think we should get it going again, Sammy, if you're listening. Yeah. Oh, here we go. I can't believe it's taken us this long to talk about it, because this was one of my biggest gripes from the game. I aim on, who's a great kick, and now I don't even think I'm putting the blame or the pressure on him, but because I feel like it's a coaching decision. But why did we refuse to change our kickouts? Like that entire first quarter, we did the same thing 10 times in a row. There was no change. We've seen Amon do some of the best kickouts ever this year, like where he swings out to the left and then fakes and goes the other way and hits someone up on the right, like just anything. And I said as a joke, when Sam Frost got a shank barrel out of our back line, it worked better for us than any other kick that we had outside of that back line. Like, it was unbelievable that we just refused to change it up.
Yeah, it probably wasn't on camera as well, but there was one time where instead of going left, Impey was like that fast break attempt. CJ looked for it in the first quarter. Impey looked for it, I think it was in the second quarter. Carl didn't go for Impey, and Impey was livid. But Geelong actually had that extra man or two back to try and cover it. So judgment call, skinnier ground. It's a harder kick to hit. If it's outside 50, it's no great loss. But they'll clearly have a good look at that and work it out moving forward. Yeah.
I think maybe move on to a positive just quickly within these few negatives, which you can get stuck on in a game like that. But yeah, Warple, I think, did really well, stood up, was probably the best midfielder on the day, in my opinion. So maybe him and Stewart, who ran through there, as I said, quite a bit. But yeah, he looked really nice out there.
Whoops had 26 disposals, 26 pressure acts, both leading for the Hawks, and 7 clearances. So he was first, with our next best being 4. Wolves was really bringing it. There was moments where Day was really solid. There was moments where Newt was shining. I don't think it was for a lack of trying. Like even Nashi, I can't remember the stat. There was good showing from all of them. It just didn't quite click on the day. But yeah, I loved Warps when we needed a goal, just taking that ruck tap in that first quarter, sold some candy, took it on, just inside 50, kicked the goal. It's lovely when our midfielders are kicking a goal, and we really, really needed one. So Warps was standing up for mine. And the one thing with Warps as well, he was like 4 inside 50s, 4 rebound 50s. So he was really working hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. He worked really hard all day. One of the few that I think can really hang their head high and say that they left their all out there for sure. Go on.
I was going to ask, so the fans, what's the thoughts on Sicily? He's cupped the shoulder. He's going to, on my guess, he's going to need surgery at the end of the season. if we're going to make finals, do we risk him? Do we? Right now, he has to protect that shoulder, because if he lifts it and you need to as a defender, what are we going to do with Sis? Because are we? It's being spoken about, in some circles. No Sicily, no Hawthorn. I don't necessarily agree. What are the thoughts from the fans, and have you got any thoughts on that, Lauren?
Yeah, I think, we saw that we can go well without Sicily against St Kilda and then against Port. So, I know we didn't get the win against Port, but we still played very well for that first 3 quarters of footy when we expected that we would lose going in. So I think we can still show up. But yeah, as you said, maybe because we've got this comment here about how we've normally played 4 talls and 3 smalls. Yesterday we went 4 smalls and 3 talls. So maybe, that one change has really just thrown the entire backline off. Because as you said, as soon as one of the Scrimshaw or Weddle goes off, it would have been really tiny back there.
He's backed it up here, Stephen, with Sarong, DJB Phillips. As far as tall, I think you're right. It did look like we were against the Geelong. We were feeling it, but for those thinking no Sicily, no Hawthorn. So round 1, we lost to Essendon with no Sicily. So 107 to 83. Round 10,
we had Sicily that game, didn't we? Because remember, he nearly got suspended.
If AFL Tables is lying to me, maybe it is.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Let us know in the comments, everyone.
Please adjudicate for us. Round 10, though, he did not play against Port, so we lost to them by 1 point at Adelaide Oval. Round 11 at Marvel, we won against the Lions, 100 to 75. My apologies. And then round 16 against the Eagles at Optus Stadium, we beat them 94 to 33. So we're 2-2 if we didn't play Sicily against Essendon. We're 2-2 without Sis. So it's, maybe, they're not top 8 teams, although Port was 4th on the ladder in round 10 when we played them. And at the time, they were 7-3, we were 15th. So I don't think it's no Sicily, no Hawthorn. I really don't. I think we've got that system down pat. But when we don't have that 4th tall, to Stephen's point just before, against a tall forward opponent, I think we may be exposed at times.
Mm-hmm. We've got quite a few comments, which I'll pull up in a sec. Yes, so I think we got a few saying that he did play. Yes, he got tagged and then he tried to punch someone or kick someone. He tried to kick someone and then he got a week, but he got off unbelievably.
I'll blame AFL Tables. My bad.
Yes. But in terms of whether we should play Sis, I don't know. I'm in the camp of if he's fit, play him. Like if the club thinks he can go on, and then maybe the last 2 weeks of the year send him off early where we play Richmond and North. But I think, maybe it's bringing back in. If the next time it pops out, that's when they call it. I don't know. I definitely don't think no Sicily, no Hawks, but he's such a valuable component to this side, not just because he's one of our best players, but because he's got that leadership piece that, we're developing in some of those younger kids, but still not there for all of them. So I would love to see him play if he can get out there. That would be my preferred. Maybe even if he's only say 90%, but that's not a decision for me. But there's a few blokes putting their hands up at Box Hill. There's been a lot of comments coming through around Box Hill, which is really good because hopefully we had a lot of ladies and gentlemen watching that game earlier today, because we did pip the Pies by a point down at Box Hill City Oval, which was really awesome. Great watch. A lot of huge efforts by some of our AFL listed players. McGuinness was probably best on ground, kicked 2 ripping goals in that last quarter. Had some nice work from the types that could replace Sicily, like Sarong or Phillips. And also DGB, 2 game-saving marks in that last 2 minutes or so, really strong marks. And, great effort from him. Do we want to see DGB? We know he only has that the rest of this year, and then they will decide whether to renew or etc. with him. But I think I'd love to see him. But McCabe is another one who played his first bit of football with the Hawks today, playing a half at Box Hill. Looked really good in that period of time. So still running on management minutes. But I think we won't see him for a while, maybe towards the back end of this year at most. But he definitely looks good, and make sure you keep an eye out on those Box Hill games if you want to see more of him.
He's a super high flyer, McCabe. I got down there pre-season before he had the injury with his back, and took a few snapshots. He on the bags, on the specky bags. He will be exciting to watch. I can't wait to see when he gets his debut.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited for him. He's definitely more of that Sicily replacement type than maybe a key defender, like a replacement for Frost. I think he's maybe just a little bit small for that now. Maybe something he can grow into when he's older, but definitely could, if he was fully fit, could be one to come in and replace Sicily at some point, maybe towards the end of this year. But yeah, a lot of love for some of these boys at the VFL, not just the backmen. Finn, as I said, kicked 2 ripping goals, had quite a handful of disposals. I don't have the numbers on me, but I know it was high. Ward, another one. Huswaite had a super game like last week in our loss. He backed it up again today. Wingard, that's a really interesting one. He looks really good. How does he come in? Is he one that maybe slips in for Bruce, who didn't have much of an impact on yesterday's game? Unfortunately, maybe he's just slowly starting to catch up to him, which we don't want to hear about one of our beloved. But we want to make sure we're putting the best team on out there every week, and Wingard's definitely putting his hand up.
Few questions, McCabe. Where did he play? I didn't see the Box Hill game today. King, I don't know if he's a fullback position to suggest is he a replacement for Frosty. I would like, he's so athletic. I would love to see him if he's not, centre half back, i.e. taking Sis's spot, like playing alongside. I don't mind if he's in a pocket, if he's on a flank. If he's playing back, he will be superb as far as flying, like aerial contest. He'll be super. And then Brewsty, the ball was coming in really high to him at times.
Yeah.
Towards the tail end of his career, he's not flying for anything. He's never really high flyer. So Chad's probably been more that over his career, but like the both of them towards the tail end, you're not going to put it on their head and like hope that they're going to jump on someone's shoulder. So I think it's a good call though. He's a good option to give Bruce a chop out and give us some potency, and also leadership, importantly, down in that forward half.
Yes, definitely. There'll be a lot of conversation about selection this week, I think, because we haven't had a loss, as I said, in those 5 weeks. So it'll be interesting to see if there's anyone on the chopping block. I mean, we'll probably have one to come out, or we'll, most likely 99% Lewis to come out. So what happens there? Will Deer be fit? There's a lot of blokes putting their hands up at VFL level. This is another opposition watch. Yes, Sean Darcy did get concussed in his game this week against Freo, so they'll be having Jackson in the ruck, who's not as good of a tap ruckman, but he's definitely very good around the ground. So
I think Mickey would love it against the Dockers. I think he'll eat that up. He will absolutely be up and about. So keen to see how we go there in the midfield with Meek taking on some former teammates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they've definitely got a good midfield over there, as Stephen is saying. Sarong, Brayshaw, Young, even Fife, who's looked the goods in the last couple of weeks. It'll be an interesting game there. One of the premier teams in the comp, just having knocked off the Swans last week. So I think it'll be a very interesting game. We should be happy that it's at our home ground in Tassie. That really helps us a lot. But a few names getting brought up to maybe be dropped. I wasn't the biggest fan of Seamus Mitchell's game. I think he was kind of thrown to the wolves in the sense that he was played probably like I saw him, standing next to Shannon Neal, and like at a few points he was just didn't really have the best matchup down there on him, unfortunately. But I think, yeah, maybe he's one to fall out. I thought we had a comment back there about Harry Morrison, who I thought came on and looked pretty good. So maybe he gets bumped up.
I would have thought with Shammy, I was confident. I liked the selection as far as like his usage by foot. He's got a really high disposal efficiency and effective disposals. Like Warple Moore both had 17, not Nash 15, Impey 15, Hardwick 15, Day 14, Mass and Amon 13. Normally, I would expect to see him right up there as far as his efficiency by foot. He just wasn't quite there yesterday. If he needs a break, Seamus, I'm a big fan. I love that he's a great chop out. I think he's where Hardwick can, be moved forward. Seamus can give us that with speed, usage by foot. His attack's got better as his career's gone on. He'll probably learn a few things out of yesterday. And look, that bigger bodies, they were so fast, Geelong, to put pressure on and often outnumbering us. At times, I think Seamus would have looked better in the back if we had that fourth tall and the ball came to ground where we were, 3 to 3 or 2 talls and 3 smalls. It wasn't quite the same role that Seamus could play yesterday.
Yeah, I think Seamus has looked really good earlier this year. So I thought he looked quite off yesterday, which is a bit unfortunate for him. But, I mean, he definitely wasn't the only one. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do, whether they bring in a tall if Sicily isn't there, switch in for a tall. Yeah, it'll be very interesting because there was a few that probably had a down game. I kind of said that we had a few too many boys that looked like they really loved playing in a win and loved getting goal side and wanting to have a shot. But when it came to defending the other way and we're 40 points down and we're playing in a ground we're unfamiliar with a hostile crowd, it looked a bit of a struggle for some of the boys to get up and chase or things like that. So
one of the Hawks fans asked me, how would that game have looked if it was played on the MCG? And I think Geelong just know how to play that ground so well. In the first half, we were playing down the wing and kicking long, whereas in our last 8 weeks where we've been really good, we've moved the ball often by hand and we've gone down the corridor. Geelong just know how to shut that down on that ground. And so there's a little bit of a lesson for us, but Sam Mitchell talked about it in the presser. We tried 2 different things. We tried to take the game on a little bit and it still didn't quite work. So there's going to be some good lessons coming from that. So not to point out individual players here. It points to our structure and how does it change when we're on skinnier ground.
Yeah, which I thought maybe the skinnier ground wouldn't bother us too much. But I tweeted something about how we should have, got the paint out and made sure that our oval at Waverley was the same dimensions. And I heard that did happen. So I'm not sure. I got some responses saying I'm pretty sure that did happen. So interesting.
Next time we play at Geelong, you and I down there, Lauren, we'll get the paint out. You're on the left wing. I'm on the right wing. We'll make that happen. And if they go outside the cones, we'll smack them.
Exactly.
I don't like losing to Geelong.
I know. Yeah, it's one of the best home ground advantages in the league, and it doesn't take it. You're not a terrible team if you go down there and get smashed because it's happened to some of the best of the teams in the league. So I mean,
we beat them in September. It's kind of
exactly. I think Sydney, who we know how well they're going on, Geelong beat them by 90 points or something down there last year. So it can really happen to the best of teams. So it's not all doom and gloom, but it's just so frustrating that it had to be against Geelong. Like, very, very upsetting. I've got too many Geelong friends that it makes it really, really tricky. But let's go to another positive, which we touched on a little bit, but how good Dylan Moore was, stand-in captain for Sicily, just is always going at 100%. I mean, he's got that future captain locked at the Hawks once Sicily finishes up. Like I don't know.
Daisy
I know.
I'm either way. Who
I
knows?
know. But I think when I've gone down to training, I just see like the leadership oozed from Maury. He looks so good, and I think he tries his guts out every week, and he kicked those two nice goals that really could have lifted us, could have given us a spark, but we just couldn't maintain any momentum at any point, unfortunately. But yeah, great game from him when his position could have been really tricky to play on a day like that.
Yeah. Well, look, MVP article will come out shortly. We both rated more. Check it out, talkinghawks.com. We're very spoiled by Dylan Moore in many senses. He's bringing us a couple of goals. Often he's giving us effort. He's bringing us run. I think he was the highest, like most distance, most repeat sprints, most sprints like across the game. So he's given us 15 kilometers back to the Shane Crawford days when a midfielder would run 21 kilometers. That's not done these days, but Moore is up there. He's running 15. He's running two ways. He's giving us a lot in terms of pressure acts. And then he's giving us something up forward. It's we have an All-Australian player in Dylan Moore this year. He's on fire.
Yeah, definitely. Don't think it's biased for me to say that, barring any injury, he's got to be in that All-Australian side. So it'd be really good to see him deservedly stand in those prestigious jackets in whenever they have the All-Australian. But yeah, really good.
There's a couple of questions, Glenn, here on Impey and Amon. Look, you don't see Amon kicking poorly very often. So, look, I think I had Impey as one of the best for mine. Like, he, as a small defender on a day where we didn't have height, he was playing tall. There's 20 pressure acts from Jarman, and that was the third highest in the team. 4 spoils, and he's a small. He understood the role that was needed to be played on the day. 4 rebound 50s. I think Jars did well. Amon, we didn't quite see what we'd always get from him, but definitely thought Jars was good. And then next tougher question here. I'm not going to pronounce that, but thank you for the question. Nashi, do you know what? I think we saw Danger outbody Nash, and the role that Nash often will play to clear some space for his fellow midfielders. It's the role that Nash normally plays to really create some good space for the mids. It's not always that Nash needs to get his hands on it, but we just didn't quite get that happening in the midfield. So it's not that Nash is out of it. He plays a really, really important role in our midfield at the moment. So look, Geelong, credit to them on the day, better team.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I've had a bit of a gripe with Nash over the past few weeks. As you said, he does really bring that physical side to it, and he does a lot of stuff without the ball. But yeah, I haven't really loved his game. I think he's been a little bit more fumbly recently. I did see a comment before saying he just looks a touch out of form, in the sense that he's maybe one pace behind where he used to be. But that, as Booker's said here, I don't think they'd ever drop him, but maybe getting managed, we could see room for a Ward or a Huswaite, as Connor said here, to come in, who I think have been performing consistently very well at Box Hill week in, week out for the past month or so. So, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see if they do anything with that. If he is carrying anything, I don't know what it is, but I just feel like, to my eye, he's looked a little bit off.
Yeah. You just let that week go through for mine, and it's, as I said, it's a guidepost where we've been on a really good run. You dip your lid to Geelong for touching us up on a ground that they know really well, and we didn't quite. Our structures, I feel, didn't quite bring it on the day. Sicily, Guinea, you can point to individuals out, but I just think they outplayed us on their ground.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think maybe I just underestimated the task, that I felt a little bit more disappointed when we lost by that much, because I went in thinking we might have a go and stay pretty close, but yeah, it just didn't work out in the end. But this is
couple
another
of different questions around Chol. Sorry,
yeah.
we're going forwards there, but like, how did you see Chol's game?
I thought I didn't think Chol looked that bad. Honestly, I don't really remember too much about his game, but I thought he did pretty well, is what I remember walking away from the game from, in a forward line that was getting terrible entry most of those 4 quarters. So I think he worked pretty well.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked his game. He was Lewis. He's not a deer in terms of Bambi will hit. If he hits the ground, we see deer straight up, and he's chasing tail. He's really trying to tackle constantly, put on pressure. Chol and Deer through the season when Mitch Lewis hasn't been playing, that's been a feature, I believe, of our forward 6. Chol continued to chase. Lewis it was interesting watching what's the chemistry, what's the change there where you've got a big forward that's a leader. There was a couple that were, the Geelong was really surrounding him. They were outnumbering Lewis and making it really challenging for him to mark.
Yeah.
But I did see him chasing, and for Lewis, to get up, if he hit the deck, he was up and he was chasing, which was good. He's not quite as fast as Deer as far as bouncing off the turf and chasing, but I think Chol just brought his normal game.
Mm-hmm.
Look, he's kicked a couple as a forward. I think Chol, maybe he could have kicked another, but geez, in a game where there wasn't a lot of opportunity up forward, I think Chol did all right.
Yeah. But yeah, speaking of Deer, I thought we missed him a bit. It's kind of a moot point now that Mitch Lewis is injured again, but that conversation between Mitch Lewis and Deer before he got injured was definitely one that was getting a lot of traction when I've talked about it on Twitter, because it's definitely a difficult conversation. We think, and we still believe, hopefully, that Lewis will be that premier tall forward in our forward line. And there's hopefully going to be, say, the future tall forward of this side. But I don't know. It's just, I feel terrible for Lewis because, like, are you kidding me? Injured again? Yeah. It must be so frustrating. But if you're not thinking about that part, what we saw from Lewis and what we saw from Deer at points, it's not as easy as it's Lewis. Definitely plug and play, that's done, which it would have been at the start of the year. Now there's definitely a conversation to be had about if they are both fit. I doubt we can play Lewis, Chol and Deer. Maybe we can. And will we see that this year? Maybe not anymore, but I think, yeah, it'll be an interesting conversation. But, yeah, definitely. I think if I had the option between Lewis and Deer and they both played this week, maybe right now I'd be playing Deer. But, yeah it's definitely a conversation.
Right, Lewis has built up over 2 weeks at the VFL to get to full game time and to come back in. Unfortunate what happened. I think he'd be really disappointed. And to come back this season, there was scans today reported by Josh Gablicek that he was cleared of the concussion protocol. That was fulfilled yesterday, and he was all clear. But we've got to see what happens with the scan on the knee. So, yeah, interesting to see what does happen between the two. But geez, it really changes the dynamic a lot because of the way they are as tall forwards. And the way they go about it, I think, the VFL, there was a question around Scaife and who was it?
Yes.
Barry. I'll drop that one up. Scaife, he's kicked 1 goal for today.
Yeah, he had a bit of a shocker, I would say, for poor Scaife today. I think it was just not like he wasn't getting involved. He was getting involved, but he just missed a few sitters and there was a few flat out marks open wide, no one near him that he didn't pull in, which is a bit unfortunate. But I think it was just kind of that day for him.
But he still had 8 marks.
Well, exactly.
That was the top. That was the highest for Box Hill on the day. So, as far as presenting and whatnot, really good.
Yeah.
Really, I think maybe it wasn't Barry. Someone else asked whether we might see Scaife this season. I guess it just depends on what happens with the tall forwards and how they are travelling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if we're pretty sure Lewis will be out. If Deer is still out, maybe. Like, honestly, maybe, because it'll be really interesting to see if those two are out, what they will do with that forward line. But yeah, I think speaking of Scaife, if that was his bad day and he was still kicking 1-4, like had a bit of a Watson day in the sense that he was doing a lot of good things, but just wasn't able to finish off some of the basics, which I'm sure was frustrating. But I think, yeah, as I said, if that's a bad day for him, well, it's not that bad in the end.
Yeah, well, and to your point there, it's just getting games, it's getting opportunities. So when Scaife gets his opportunity, I'm sure the selection committee will allow him a good run at it. Watson's getting the opportunities, and he's doing what he's being told. He's pressuring, he's tackling, he is like ground ball, like the pressure, the crumbing, and he's getting shots at goal. So it's going to come for Watson. I think Watson, as I said earlier, was the best pressure forward for this week, and he gave us 2 score launches, and that was one of our game highs. I think it was 2 score involvements as well from Watson. So yes, we're not quite seeing it on the scoreboard, but the day's going to come and it's going to be good.
Yeah, I think another forward option we haven't talked about at Box Hill is Ramsden, who did decently well today. Does play quite a bit of second ruck down there when Reeves isn't doing the hit outs. But yeah, I think he looks pretty good as well. It'll be interesting. Ramsden does have that slight more experience than Scaife does, especially in the Hawk system. So would he be the one to be picked over Scaife, who maybe has played a little bit better over the last couple of weeks? I know Ramsden has had some very good games recently, but yeah, that's another interesting. I think that these selection decisions, like we're getting some more questions about Wingard. He looks really good. I think definitely he gets a go if Ginnivan is not back.
I think Rama gives us some more in terms of that rucking option. I haven't looked. Scaife looked okay the little bit that I've seen him at Box Hill, but Rama's probably more that forward ruck and going to give us more in the ruck. I don't know at the AFL level if we'd be playing Scaife quite as much in the ruck as we might Rama. Maybe I'm really off there, but Rama in the system a lot longer. He's probably got his head around how to work in with the structures a bit more than Scaife at this stage. Next season will be really fascinating after they get another sort of, Scaife gets his first off-season under his belt, time to understand how to fit in and the role he plays and the chemistry, which Rama's had the opportunity to. So Scaife, maybe he gets a look in, and it might be for mine if we probably aren't going to be likely for finals. Rama would be a call-up if Deer's not available at this stage. So Deer's probably looking like he's giving us a little bit more at this stage up forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I said, very interesting question. I'm seeing a few comments come in talking about DGB, Sarong and Phillips. We did touch on them earlier in the stream. So once we're done here, feel free to go back and have a listen to that. But yeah, in terms of wrapping that conversation up, I'm thinking maybe I wouldn't mind seeing DGB get the priority because he is out of contract at the end of this year. And then probably Sarong, who's been doing really well. And Phillips, unfortunately, he's been doing good, but not great. Nothing really that has really made him stand out at Box Hill yet, whereas Sarong has been going really, really well. So that'll be interesting to see.
I think they play different positions, though. Like to compare maybe Sarong and DGB, cool. Mm-hmm. Phillips is going to be that more, frosty replacement. He's going to be that big body. So I think the way we play Denver and Sarong might be more that mobile big, that third tall. And so it depends on the opponents we play, whether Phillips might get the call up as opposed to the other two boys.
Yeah, it'll be definitely a conversation to be had there. I think we maybe should start wrapping up. So get your last few questions coming through, because we would love to make sure we've talked about everything everyone's wanted us to talk about. But yeah, great to see everyone coming in and getting lots of questions and comments. Yeah, it'll be an interesting week this week for sure. We've got one of the informed teams in the competition, except it's at our home ground. I wonder if anyone's getting down. I'm sure it'll be freezing down there at the moment. So I wonder if that plays into it. I know it was pretty cold at GMHBA. Did you find that, Matt?
I was soft. I was in the media box and it was cold. Of
course.
So maybe I was sitting too close to the front, but I did see Lethal in the media box, and I just had that little moment as I won't mention my age, but yeah, just enjoyed seeing a legend there. But yeah, we will see. Hopefully the boys can just shake that off. They're not my age, so don't worry about me. I'm looking forward to a different shaped ground that we know well and we can play well. So we'll see. I think it'll be much more to our strengths this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Oh, yes. See, I've just opened my Twitter, and Patrick Malone, one of the resident Talking Hawks supporters and all things Hawthorn on Twitter, has shown, I don't know if you can see over here, but they did chuck that white line on the ground. I'm not sure if you can see that. But yeah, so they did bring the ground in. Unfortunately, it didn't help us, but
we're out of a job. I was trying to get us a Guernsey, but anyway, that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. So Thank you all for joining us tonight with Talking Hawks. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, X, Instagram. Make sure to subscribe and hit the like on YouTube, Facebook as well. Really great to see you all. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the win, but as we said, there's always next week. And I think we've got a decent chance. So we'll see how we go, and hopefully we can see you all next week after a win. Go Hawks.